Good afternoon, viewers. Today we have Miss Sumedha Ganju with us.
Hi, I'm Sumedha Ganju. I'm a principal product owner at a company called National Instruments. It's a software hardware company. I'm a software engineer by background, by education, a product owner by occupation, a hobbyist, writer, public speaker. And I've started an organization called Mindful Use of Technology, where I'm helping people raise awareness on the topic of using technology for good, but also being mindful about its usage, not overusing it, being careful about the behaviors and the impact that it creates in our society on individuals as well.
Miss Sumedha Ganju, dear viewers, is a technocrat and has done a lot of research on technology addiction. Miss Sumedha Ganju, how do you define technology addiction?
Addiction basically is described as a compulsive behavior which has negative impacts. And that means technology addiction is use of technology in a compulsive way which has negative impacts on you.
What are the various aspects of technology addiction that you have seen in your research and your interaction with the technology and with the surroundings?
So, not just research and my surroundings, I would say I've been myself a victim of technology
Alright.
addiction. So, I'm
Interesting.
not above it all. That's how it all started for me, where I realized I was looking at my emails, for example, at really odd hours. I would be walking to my car or going to bed and I would check my work emails. Really, at times where I couldn't make a change. I couldn't do anything about the email or the information I was getting. I felt my mind was an information overload. I felt I was overwhelmed, anxious, but I wasn't more productive with all the information that I had. And that's when I started detoxing from technology and reading more about research that exists in the field and all of that. And since then, I've been working with people holding workshops and trying to figure out what are the flavors of technology addiction that exist. There are certain, I feel, more common ways technology addiction shows up, like social media, Reddit, YouTube. But then everybody has their own custom flavor. So a friend of mine used to check social media and she would say, at work, I would type an F and I would type enter. And before I know, Facebook would be there. And she's like, I put a website blocker. So she's intentionally saying, I'm not going to check Facebook. And the website blocker would keep a count of how many times she's been on Facebook. And she was like, I was in 70s, high 70s in a month, where she has intentionally decided I'm not going to check Facebook, but still her hand would go in and type an F and enter, and Facebook would pop up. And the website blocker will be like, you're
So
not
this is
supposed
the
to be here.
addiction at the highest degree. What are the ways out of it, or how far is it going to impact human mind in the coming future? That's a point we must ponder over. And what are the ways out of it?
Right. So, as far as how it shows up and what the impact of it is, even science is still trying to discover that. There are a lot of studies done, and we can talk about some of them. There are a lot of studies done on what is the impact of overuse of technology, certain behaviors around technology on your mind, on your physiology, on your physical body and emotions. There is there's some studies, like I'll talk about it, like the white matter, your structure of your brain changing. Some of it they don't even know what that would mean, but you can already see some of the impact. You can see the isolation in people, how people feel less and less connected with each other. You can see if you go to an airport, if nobody's talking to each other, everybody's on their phones. But from that all the way to the fact that people are addicted to social media or people are addicted to their phones. And I would say anytime you are unintentional about your use, I'm talking to you and suddenly I feel the urge to pull up my phone and try to check something.
This has a very far-reaching, a very detrimental impact on the children, especially. What are they?
I mean, think about it like this. When we have a cup of coffee one day, and now I feel more awake, next day I usually need 2 cups of coffee, and the day after I need 3 cups of coffee. So if you're exposed to this dopamine release from a young age, and you require that level of dopamine to be happy, then you're more and more addicted to that dopamine to be happier. So the more exposed you are to it, the more addicted you are to it. That means that when you don't get it, you feel sad and you feel depressed. There is actually a study done that shows there is a high correlation between depression in young adults as well as technology usage and mobile phone usage. Another study, a survey done in US showed that 1 in 2 teenagers identify themselves as highly addicted to their mobile phones. Interestingly, 51% of them have said that they've seen their parents use their phones while driving. So they're just mimicking the behavior that they've seen. 32%, I think, said that they argue with their parents every day on device usage. Another interesting study is that they observed the white matter. White matter is the part of your brain that connects the gray matter and is responsible for sending messages across. So they did a study where they observed the minds of younger adults who have been engaging with technology, mobile phones, social media a lot. And then they noticed that their structural properties, literally the structural properties of microstructural properties of the white matter, have reformed in teenagers. They're different than the previous generation. And the parts that were different were responsible for executive decision making, emotional regulation, and decision making in general. So, and
It,
memory
it,
as
it
well.
deteriorates or it improves?
So this is, as I said, this is a new area of study. That's something that they couldn't tell. They suspect that in the long term, it's not great, but they're saying that your white matter, your structural properties of your brain are different already in these young adults. What would that mean for them when they grow up? They're still trying to study and they're still trying to figure out. But that one study itself is scary because we don't even know yet what the impact, long term impact of this is going to be in the coming generations.
Generally, in children, the parents make sure to raise certain parental controls or scold their children for excessive use of technology or excessive use of mobile phones or gadgets. So, do you think this kind of behavior by the parents should be, should be promoted, or there should be some other holistic mechanism through which you can put your children out of this technology addiction?
Um, I can speak from my experience as an ex kid, right? I never used to do what my parents told me to do. I don't know how that has been working out for other kids. But usually, if they would tell me to do something, that's not the first thing that I would follow. But I think kids are pretty intelligent. They are smart. They know once you actually reason with them and you make them understand what they need to do, why they need to do it, they'll understand. So we had a child attend one of our workshops that we were holding at National Instruments. It's a technology company and we were raising awareness on this topic. And one of our co-workers kids attended. And we didn't really tell the kid, don't do this, don't do that. But what we did was we shared a lot of research and all the science that was there. And we shared, along with adults, we said, this is the detrimental impact of technology. Then we had them do some exercises that we have them do based on identifying which area of their life is being impacted, like physical body, stress, mental health, focus, productivity, relationships. And they self identified through that research, through that this is the area of my life that is being impacted, these are the steps I should take. And this kid went to their school and they told their friends, and their parents reached out to us and they were like, oh, like they attended your seminar and now their device usage is a little improved. And I think it is because the way to get, my opinion, I don't have kids so no expert on this, but my opinion is, if we share the research, we actually help them learn why it's bad for them. Then we facilitate it with certain experiences, whether it's workshops, whether it's other mindfulness courses. We facilitate it with experiences. And then, most importantly, we provide a culture and support for it.
Mindfulness of technology. What exactly do you do in this?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about it. The organization we've started is called Mindful Use of Technology. I want to stress on the mindful part of it. We actually used to call it disconnect before. And that was not the point. Technology is not bad. Technology inherently is not bad. My job, I am a principal product owner at a technology company. I'm a computer scientist. It depends on technology. It has helped me connect with my family and friends here in India while I'm in US. So it definitely is not bad. It has made me more productive in certain ways. And that's where the intention versus the compulsive behavior comes in. Is what we want is people to not be compulsive around it or feel empowered to be intentional about it, so that they choose their relationship with technology and they can use it as a tool to create whatever they have to create. That's why we changed the name to Mindful Use of Technology, because we felt it was more apt so as to the message we were trying to deliver. What we've been doing is working with technology companies, and companies like National Instruments, Duo Security, which is now acquired by IBM, Silicon Labs. We've been going to these companies and working with people who work in these technology companies, the creators of the technology, and help them identify the areas of their own addiction and share this research with them. So we hold workshops, and there are two workshops. The workshops are basically we share a lot of research, then we have people do a lot of activities, interactive, which help them identify which areas of their lives are being impacted. They score themselves, whether it's their physical body. Some people have started seeing like back issues or neck issues because of sitting on the computer for too long, or their thumb issues. One participant reported actually doctor has told them to blink every hour as an exercise, because that's the impact on their body, was they were not blinking completely because of looking at the screen. And the doctor was like, your eyes are not producing enough fluid, so they were told to blink. So they identify areas of their body or relationships. Some people's husbands or parents or children tell them that they're not spending quality time, so they identify the area which is being impacted. Then they score themselves on their behaviors, and then we actually share some tips and tricks with them on those behaviors and that impact, on how can you reduce that impact on that area. And then they go in for 4 weeks and they try that out, and then we come back and then we do certain exercises to improve focus, to improve relationship. For example, just sitting with someone and talking to them without actually looking at your phone. Turning your phone off and keeping it away for some time causes anxiety for people. So trying out these things and being more practical around it, that's what we've been doing, working with companies and people to raise awareness on this topic.
What are the various fields of our lives which the technology addiction does impact?
So, the way we have categorized it in our workshops, it's based on a lot of research that we've read about as well as our own experience. We have categorized it into 6 areas, but again, there are more. So, the main common 6 that we have identified is physical body, where a lot of people are reporting that their arms ache, they have corporal tunnel or sciatic, or neck issues, as I was talking about, eye blinking issues,
Or the cervical issues?
cervical issues. Yeah, so overuse of technology has definitely led to more injuries on your physical body, so that's one area. The second area that we've identified is relationships, which is a big one for people, where people aren't really present in their relationships anymore. They're more present for online connections than for their loved ones.
In a
And
virtual world.
yes, exactly. And when I say relationships, I don't necessarily mean your spouse and your family, your friends, strangers, when you're sitting in a coffee shop, like people who are around you, who are present right there with you physically. So there's a lot of impact on those relationships. The third area that we've identified is stress and mental health, where people are identifying that they're feeling more stressed, overwhelmed, they're feeling information overload. There are a lot of studies done that show that there is a overuse of technology has an impact, detrimental impact on your brain. So for example, social media usage, whenever you get into arguments, especially on social media or news articles, there is a threat response that's produced in your brain which leads to high blood pressure and glucose increase. So there's literal stress, physiological stress that's created. Then another area is focus. So focus means your ability to focus on the task at hand, which means that I'm going to do this thing, but then you remember tangibly, oh, I had to do this other thing, or let me open this other tab and this other browser, and you start doing something else completely. So that's focus that is being impacted. There's a study done that shows that in UT Austin, University of Texas Austin, they did a study where they showed that just merely the presence of your cell phone on your desk has reduces your memory capacity and fluid intelligence, which are parts of your brain that help you focus on a task, by some like 10, 20, 30%. But it was enough of an impact where if your phone is in a different room versus if your phone was on your desk, just visible, you're not using it, but less resources were available to you to use to do the task that you were doing. The fifth area is productivity. So productivity means it's related to focus, but it means doing the highest priority task, which means, oh, I need to go mow my lawn or I need to go run this errand, but instead I'm going to sit and watch Netflix. Instead, I'm going to do this other thing and spend hours on Instagram and hours doing that. So that's productivity. And the last area is sleep. So sleep actually is very much detrimentally affected by overuse of tech, but not just overuse, but certain times of usage as well. Blue light that is radiated from our cell phones, from our tablets, reduces melatonin, which is a hormone that is released in our body for regulating sleep. People take melatonin pills to improve their sleep cycles, but we don't realize that the blue light is reducing melatonin. One of the studies showed that blue light exposure was like having 2 cups of coffee. None of us would have coffee and go to bed, but we'll all watch Netflix or YouTube or something and go to bed. So over time, they found there was an average 3 hours of difference between people who were using technology excessively versus who were using it moderately. So these were the areas: sleep, productivity, focus, mental health, relationships, and physical body. These are the areas that we have identified. But I do want to caveat, yours might look a little different. Finances is one where people have reported that we see an impact on our finances, as because we're addicted to shopping. So there are definitely other flavors, but these are the more common ones that we've
These are
seen.
the very common, but you have listed sixth or seventh is the finance. Now, undoubtedly, it has very detrimental impact on our lives, on our even our both mental as well as physical life. So there should certainly be something which you have till date gone through actually with a certain tips which you would like to give to our viewers, so that if they are impacted at certain level or a certain degree by this technological overindulgence or addiction, what you call, there might be certain tips which you would like to give to our viewers. What
Yeah,
are they?
sure, happy to. So
First of all, before that, sorry, before that, first of all, we'd like to know how a person would come to know that he's addicted to technology. Actually, it's very important to know, because as common human beings, we generally don't know we're addicted to technology. So, where should a person realize that he is being addicted by technology?
right, and that's the mindfulness piece, right? We're trying to do our part in raising that awareness. Maybe this interview, maybe a YouTube video, there are a lot of blogs out there. Maybe it spurs a thought that, oh, maybe I'm doing this excessively as well. So just being aware and mindful about your own usage and trying to figure out, was this a compulsive behavior? Was it an intentional behavior? Was I intending to do this thing that I just did with technology? Or did I do it on autopilot without even realizing? That's the
Exactly.
start.
So these are very two important terms. One is compulsive and other is intentional. So here a person can figure out whether he is doing it because of compulsion or because of intention. If I'm correct.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I would say. It creeps in. So just being mindful over and over about that. Uh, Reading articles, reading interviews, listening to interviews like this hopefully will help raise awareness on that topic as well, to start with whether you're addicted or not. Sometimes it's easier to see it in other people. Like I've heard a lot of people will say like, my wife is addicted to it, my children are addicted. And I was like, so when they are using their phone on the dining table, what are you doing? They're like, then I open my phone and then I start using it too because I have nothing else to
So
do.
just interrupting here.
Yeah.
We mean to say that a person should always analyze if he is using the phone because of his compulsive disorder. He's picking up his phone time and again without any intention or without any purpose of doing so. So here a person can recognize whether he is impacted by the overindulgence of the technology. If you're right.
Right. So technology is a tool like anything else. Choose what you're trying to create in life, whether it's a moment in your relationship, whether it's a job, whether it's a impact on your loved ones, whatever it is in your society, whatever you're trying to do. Choose what you're trying to do and then look at technology in the moment and say, am I using it for the intended behavior? And if it doesn't align with that, it's likely a little compulsive.
Definitely. So this is the biggest tip that can help a person to come out of any overindulgence or, overindulgence of technology. Right
Right.
now, beyond this,
Yeah.
beyond figuring out whether his usage is because of compulsive disorder, compulsion, or intention, what are the other things through which a person can help himself out of this addiction?
Yeah. Mindfulness courses are definitely good. Like when we go do these workshops, sometimes people attend the workshop and they're not really sure that they're addicted to technology. And I won't even say everybody's addicted to technology. There are different levels of it, right? But something speaks to them when they see a mindful use of technology workshop. They're like, I'll go to this and try to see. And then through the workshop, through learning about it, they'll realize that, yeah, you know what, I had a problem. So similarly, expose yourself to different courses, mindfulness courses, whether it's this workshop, whether it's whatever other mindfulness courses, expose yourself to that to kind of start building that self awareness. Um, and beyond that, actually taking steps to change it. So I just mentioned 6 areas. We do a lot of like grading on different things. I can't do that right now, but start from those 6 areas and self identify. Do I think any of these 6 areas are being impacted by overuse of technology? And if you feel you're not going to be 100% honest with yourself, ask your loved ones,
The
people
six
sitting
areas
next to
which
you.
you listed before
Yeah.
about productivity, sleep,
Yeah.
relationship, stress, and all, right?
Yes, yes. And start from maybe asking people around you if you feel you can't see it for yourself. Um, then once you identify one of those areas, then see what is your intention in that area. What do you want to create in that area? Whether it's focus, identify one or two things, and then make a small change. Now habits take time. People get frustrated, they'll make a change and then it won't stick, and then they'll shift and be like, this isn't working for me. Give it 2-3 months, I would say, and make one change. So if relationship is an area, for example, you've identified a tip, a change you can make is make sure that when you're having meals with your family, lunchtime, dinner time, nobody is allowed to have their phones around. They, maybe there's a basket where you all deposit your phones, and then you just have your meal in peace and you talk to each other, and after that you can just use your phone or whatever gadgets you have to use. Or maybe just keep time, like this half an hour all of a family is going to sit together, nobody's going to use gadgets. Just start putting things in place, even if they're small, one thing at a time, maybe a month or two. Make those changes and add those habits, but identify those areas. What I find most commonly is that people get overwhelmed. So something, I gave up my phone for 4 weeks. I gave up Netflix, YouTube, all of the technology things. I used to check my email twice a day. That's another thing you could do, is schedule your time with technology and say, this is the time I'm going to check my phone, this is the time I'm going to check my email. For 4 weeks, I did an experiment where I gave up all of these things and I tried to see what would my life look like. When I ask other people to try to do that, people usually get overwhelmed and start thinking of all the things that they would miss out on, like fear of missing out shows up. So something, that's why I recommend just try something simple. One thing, make one change, do it for 1 or 2 months. If that works for you, then add on another habit. If you've started using alarm clocks, that's it. Just do that for 1 or 2 months. Then maybe add family time on top of that after 2 months. And over time, that will help.
Thank you. Mindfulness is very important to come out of technology addiction. So, mindfulness is the key here. If you are able to understand the mindfulness, the concept of mindfulness in anything we do, whether it's with regards to technology or with regards to anything, we can derive the best out of things. Thank you, Ms. Sumedha, for being with us. It was really
My
interactive.
pleasure.